The automobile is one of the most important inventions that revolutionized the modern world. In America, the rich history of car culture runs deep as technology continues to shape the future of the industry. Jason Stein, former publisher of Automotive News, is here to share the stories of people passionate about cars, from industry leaders and innovators to car-obsessed celebrities. Buckle up as Jason takes you inside the boardroom, onto the track, and around the bend on Cars and Culture on SiriusXM Business Radio.
Hi, I'm Jason Stein, host of Cars and Culture. Before we get to this week's interview, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Connected by Reynolds & Reynolds. I love the conversations I get to have on this show because they're exactly that. They're conversations. Another podcast I found worth checking out for conversations is Connected by Reynolds & Reynolds. Greg Ulan goes deep with guests on everything from used car acquisitions to finding your niche and selling to it. I definitely recommend adding Connected to your rotation.
Welcome to Cars and Culture and in episode 116. I'm your host, Jason Stein. She wasn't supposed to end up here at the end of a drag strip, burning up engines and sending smoke a mile high and racing to the end of the drag strip raceway in mere seconds. Blinding speed, the speed of sound. Maybe Alexis DeJoria was supposed to be in the family business, either the tequila empire of her father or the salon business, which also happened to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the world at Paul Mitchell. But nothing says determination and goal setting and charting your own path as Alexis DeJoria. And her path is a scorching one. A passion for racing, a passion for speed, and the kind of career that would make your parents nervous. And they were, just a little. But Alexis DeJoria, NHRA funny car driver and contender for a title, is the kind of athlete that also makes her competitors nervous, with her skill, determination, and ability to persevere in a sport that isn't for the faint of heart by any stretch. Her pathway was her own, and she's continuing to blaze her own trail week after week and scorching heat after heat on the drag strip track. And if you don't take her seriously by now, well, will you ever? DeJoria got her start in drag racing in the NHRA Super Gas category, driving a 1963 Corvette Roadster, and later competed in the NHRA Super Comp in a dragster. Along the way, she rolled up the accolades, the first female to make a sub-4-second funny car pass. But she's all about breaking new records, and this year is vying for a title in her Toyota car, doing it all with a smile, an infectious laugh, and sheer determination. She's one of the more unique athletes to appear on this program, and today she tells her story, from the early days of her father's business to the will to go after her dream, which she's still pursuing at the speed of sound. Funny car driver, funny personality, Alexis DeJoria's story on Cars and Culture.
Hi, my name is Alexis DeJoria, and this is Cars and Culture with Jason Stein.
There's nobody faster on this program than Alexis. I want to know personally what it feels like to go 1,000 feet in about 3.8 seconds. She's going to tell us all about that. But first, I want to welcome you to the program. What a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
You're fresh off a heck of a finish in the Mile High City in Denver, the final time on the Speedway there, and you almost take home the hardware.
Yes,
right?
So close.
I know
so
that hurt.
Close. Yeah, definitely.
But tell me about, I mean, for those listening to this program who don't know the significance of where you just were, tell me what it means to be the last person to literally go down the strip at Bandimere.
Bittersweet. Obviously, being in the final round was amazing, and I don't want to take away from that at all. But it is great to say that we were one of the last ones to go down the racetrack. The last pair of funny cars to go down Bandimere Speedway ever. Yeah. And minus the hardware, we did have a great weekend. We had to fight for a few of those rounds. It got really slippery out there. It was so hot. It was like the hottest day. At one point, the top end of the track was about 140 degrees. They have a cooling system underneath the starting line, but at the top end, it's kind of, it's a free for all. So, I knew at some point I was going to have to pedal this beast, and I won one of the rounds that way. So that was pretty good. It showed some of my skills. Other than that, it was all Nikki and Dell, my crew chief and team. And we did good. We moved up.
I'll share a personal story. I've gone near that track at about 1 to 2 miles per hour because every Christmas they have a wonderful Christmas display right at the speedway, and you kind of weave in and out of that. But again, I'm going a mile or two an hour. you're killing it.
Yeah, add a few to that.
So for those
you
who
can hear it from way far away from that racetrack too, because it's Thunder Mountain. It's like carved into that side of that mountain right there underneath Red Rocks, and it's a beautiful facility. We're really going to miss it a lot, and the family is great too. The Bandimeres have been really into racing, and I mean they have sportsman stuff going on, out there, and then I think it's like run what you brung kind of stuff as well. So they've had a lot of great shows there, and a lot of people are going to miss it.
For those who don't know, Alexis, compare that speedway to something that's equally as iconic in another racing venue. Is that shutting down Daytona? Not quite. But
I wouldn't say Daytona. I would say I think just because of the uniqueness of it, it's a mile above sea level. We don't have any other racetrack that's that high above the sea level, and it just changes everything that you do up there. It changes, your breathing for the drivers. Changes the way the cars are set up. They don't make as much horsepower. They don't make as much downforce. The parachutes don't blossom as hard. There's just so many things that make it unique in that sense. It's a different setup. Our crew chiefs have a different setup for that track than any other track that we run. So it throws a curveball in, your tune-ups and what you do out there. But it is unique in that sense that it's a mile above sea level, and you don't see that anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your year been? You're knocking on the door of some significant history here. I mean, you had your 200th start recently. You're obviously now well established as a force within racing circles, and you're competing for the first title, first title, and the first title that a female driver would have too.
We've had the best start to a season yet. We've been to 3 finals already, a number of semifinals, qualified really well, and we've kind of been moving back and forth between second and third and fourth, and now we're back up to third again. So we did move up 2 spots in the beginning of this countdown. So I mean the Western swing. So we've got Denver, Seattle, and then Sonoma. So it's really good to kind of start off this swing right here, by going to the finals and getting some really crucial points. The track was tricky this weekend, though. It was hard to get down. We didn't get down in qualifying very much. And then when we did, we hurt some parts, but we managed to make it to the final. So that's all that matters.
The year surprising you so far?
Not really. We've been working towards this. Last year was like a big test session. We were testing out new parts, new body, just a number of things that we had to get acclimated to. So it takes a little bit of time to get that going. And we're fairly a new team, DC Motorsports. Del Worsham and I started this.
Your team.
Basically right after COVID. We started it during COVID, but things got a little delayed there. What a heck of a time to choose to come back, But we've been doing exceptionally well. I mean, none of us are newbies here. Del Worsham, myself, Nikki Bonifane, my car chief, Matt Bynum, and just our whole crew. We got to pick and choose who we wanted to be on this team. And we've been doing really well. So all that hard work last year really paid off. So I'm happy to see it all come to fruition.
What's the biggest challenge about owning your own team that maybe you didn't anticipate, or running your own team?
Well, I had my own team when I was the last few years I raced Top Alcohol Funny Car. I was just finishing racing with the team, the O'Bannons, in Alcohol Funny Car, and I found out that Bob Newberry was selling his operation and wanted to stay on as like a mentor crew chief. And I was like, man, this is the perfect opportunity. I mean, he's a legend. Won numerous races and a championship. I mean, Bob Newberry is one of the real deals, and he's got such a great, calm demeanor too. He's really, really good. A really good teacher. So I moved out to Florida, and I lived out there for a few years while we ran our team, Stealth Motorsports, and ran with Bob Newberry, and he taught me everything he knows, and that was really incredible. But yeah, we ran the team. I own the team, so I've had a little bit of experience in it. Seems a bit easier this time around.
Yeah, why is it easier this time?
I've got more help, probably.
Oh, well, that
helps. It's easier. Like now, I just get to focus on driving the car, which is nice.
Yeah.
Instead of doing all the other stuff. But yeah, it's I think it's great this way because, like I said, we could pick and choose the parts that we want to use on the car when we want to test, all those types of things. I really am grateful for being able to race with the Kalitta Motorsports and Connie Kalitta during the first years of my pro career. That was just absolutely amazing. And I would have stayed, we both would have stayed there. But this opportunity came up, and Dell was like, I think we could do this on our own. And, countless other teams have done it. You look at Steve Torrance, they have sometimes his dad comes and races one of the cars, but for the most part, they're a single team and they win championships. And, so we're like, we could do this. So here we are.
When you think about I mentioned it earlier, the 200 starts, you think about 200 starts, what comes to mind?
It kind of puts things in perspective. I mean, you do this for so long, like, the races just kind of blend together, and the years and the runs. And it really just made me kind of take a breath and realize that, like, wow, I've been doing this for a long time. 200 starts is pretty impressive. And yeah, that's awesome. Every
Especially
time somebody mentions like a stat like that, I always go, wow, really? I've been to 15 finals. That's awesome. But right. I don't think about it because we're just, we keep our head down and keep the blinders on and just keep going and racing. And you forget sometimes to enjoy the ride and appreciate what it took to get here.
You started late-ish in this sport. Why drag racing?
The nature of cars.
I know you were 16 years old, around about 16, right? When you saw your first race and you got really hooked on it. But why drag racing?
Well, I made a promise that I would work for the family business. And out of high school, I took some college courses and then was working for my dad's company, like we all do, like all the family members have. And it was a great learning experience. I kind of worked my way up, went from the phones and just like different departments in the company. But that was just, I think, really good lessons for everything, that I was going to experience in drag racing as well, minus the driving part, but the social part and, the business aspect of it as well. After 4 years of working at Paul Mitchell, I still wanted to race really bad. So I had the heart-to-heart conversation with my dad, and I said, thank you so much for this opportunity, but this is something that I need to try to do. Like, he's always taught us to, if you can make your passion your profession, then you're going to win at life, and you'll never really feel like you're having a day at work. You know what I mean? It's something that you believe in, and if you're passionate about it and you believe in it, you're going to be successful. And I told him, I said, racing, I believe, is my passion, and I've got to go at least try. I have to go try it, and if it doesn't work out, I'll come back.
What did he say?
He just said, well, I respect that. And he goes, he goes, if you're really serious, go get licensed, try it out. So I had a little bit of savings set up, and I went to Frank Hawley's drag racing school, got licensed in super gas, found like an old 63 Corvette Roadster that was a super gas car, bought that, started racing it, few races, got my feet wet. My goal was always to be driving a nitro funny car from day one, but I had no experience in NHRA drag racing, so I had to start somewhere. And where's the best way to start? Yeah, like, learning the ropes that way. But that motor in that Corvette was kind of on its last leg. It wasn't really good. So parked that, went back to Frank Hawley's drag racing school and got licensed in Super Comp. Found a 2-year-old Super Comp dragster from Steve Williams. And he builds incredible cars, and drives them and sells them every 2 years and builds another one. So once I got in that, and I met up with a great family that had been racing Super Comp for years, the Robbins family, and they kind of helped me. We parked next to them at the pits, and they kind of helped me get the car, ready and everything. We raced together for a while, and within 8 months, I went to 2 finals and won a Sportsman National. So I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. This is what I want to do. This is where I belong, and I'm good at it. And I came back to my dad, and I was like, here it is, man. Like, and he was impressed. He was like, wow, okay, you're serious about this. I said, yeah, I'm really serious about this. So I got his blessing, and
did he understand?
He did. And
because for those who don't know, by the way, he was just the founder of the Paul Mitchell hair care line
and Patron tequila.
That's right.
Yeah. So at that time, Patron was sponsoring some other motorsports, so it seemed like the right fit. And my dad loves drag racing, absolutely loves it. It's that, like, that quick, the quickness he likes. He's not much of a NASCAR or IndyCar guy as far as like sitting there and watching them go around, a bunch of times. He gets kind of bored. So drag racing was a perfect sport for him. Having Nitro Funny Car being my goal, I wanted to, train the best I could for that. And so the next step was Top Alcohol Funny Car. And that is a very difficult car to drive, especially if you've never driven a funny car or drag car like that. It's got a clutch, you're swapping feet, you're bringing up the motor to about $7,000 when you leave the starting line and you swap feet, and then you shift twice, and then you got to keep the thing in the middle, and you're going for full quarter mile. And I did really well in that. My dad wasn't really stoked when he saw where the driver sits in a funny car.
Right.
He was like, whoa, wait. You're not going to drive that car, are you? I was like, I already went back to Frank Hawley's for a third time and I already paid the money. Yes, I'm driving this car. This is happening. It's going down. He's like,
and explain to the audience exactly where that is.
You basically sit right over the transmission, and the motor is practically in your lap. It's right in front of you.
Right.
And then you've got this carbon fiber body that sits down and like a firewall, like a tin firewall, titanium firewall that's separating you from the engine compartment. And then you've got like a driver's, cover right here to cover you, because when those things let go, when they catch on fire and blow up, it's like a blowtorch right on your face. Not like the dragsters where it's all behind you. This is like right here, right now. And I love the funny cars when I watched them go down the track, and I was so relieved that I still loved it from the inside of the car. I had heard some stories where, people wanted to drive it and they sit in there and they get all suited up, and, you've got this suit that looks like you're going to space, like you're going to go to the moon. You've got like a whole spacesuit, lots of gear, lots of, head and neck restraints and arm restraints, because you really don't want to move around too much in those cars. And then you get in, and then there's like a 7-point harness, and then they lower the body. Some people just don't like that. If you're claustrophobic, funny car is not the class for you. by any means. But I loved it, and I did really, really well. And broke some records. And I was the second female in history to ever win a national event in top alcohol funny car. And when I finally did that, because I wanted to make sure that I won in every class before I made the jump up. I didn't win in super gas, but again, I think I only raced 5 times in that car before it blew up. Went to super comp and did really well. Won a Sportsman National, moved up to top alcohol funny car, was there for a while, really, really, really got good at it and learned the ropes before I made the move up and won a national event in Seattle, which is the next race we're actually going to. And then I started testing in one of the Kalitas, the DHL funny car during that time, and then made the swap in 2012. Never looked back.
Incredible. Let's go back to the conversation with your dad. He realizes where the engine is. He realizes where you're going to be seated. He knows how fast you're going to be going. Doesn't he just look at you at some point and go, "Are you nuts?"
No, because I was always the wild child of the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, riding motorcycles, skydiving, snowboarding, just driving fast, just anything, anything and everything.
Your mom always thought you had a death wish, didn't she?
She did. She actually said that. She's like, "You have a death wish." I'm like, "No, I just like to experience life. I like to live life." My dad said that's the life of the eagle. You have 2 choices in life. You can build a nest and at the top of a mountain and have to go through rain, sleet, and snow to find your food, or you can live like a clam at the bottom of the ocean and wait for things to come to you and live life, quiet and scared in a little room. He goes, what type of person are you going to be? Dad, I'm the eagle for sure.
Well, he was the eagle too, though, wasn't he?
Yes.
In a different way.
And I can sometimes, make things a little bit hard on yourself. But I think everything that I've been through have really shaped me, molded me into the person that I am today. And driving these cars is a mental sport. You've got to be mentally strong. It is physical for sure. But when you're up on that starting line, I mean, you have to clear your head completely and focus on your job, the task ahead, one step at a time, not too far ahead. You don't want to even think about what just happened. If you do a bad burnout or whatever, you get in a fight with your, somebody, you got to just clear your head and be in that moment, or you're going to get left on. And I've been on both sides of that. Yeah.
Well, or you're in Englishtown, New Jersey, and you receive a bit of a different thrill than you may have expected. And after doing a 5.55 second run and 260 miles an hour, you go down again. And your 2 parachutes detach from the rear of the car just past the finish line, and you end up in the safety catch net.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was top alcohol funny car. And we had, like, at the time, Frank Manzo and us were kept going back and forth, setting the new track record or the new national record. Which of course he took away. But for a while there, we were back and forth. It was pretty awesome. But we had won the round. We had just ran our quickest time and our fastest speed ever. And I mean, every run that weekend was so great. We kept doing better and better. My parachutes ripped off the back of the car as soon as they opened up. And Englishtown is one of the shortest shutdowns from the finish line to the sand trap. Not to mention, Scott Kalita lost his life there in Nitro Funny Car, and countless other drivers. So it kind of had this vibe of, tragedy. But anyway, when the parachutes did rip off the back of my car, it opened up. They were welded to these tabs on the rear end of the car, and it opened it up like a can opener and sprayed rear end lube all over my brakes. So at that moment, I had at least slowed down 100 miles an hour. When the parachutes blossomed, it slowed me down that much. But with alcohol funny cars, we don't have as much downforce as the nitro cars. So you really rely on your brakes and your parachutes. Well, I had nothing. It all went out the door. So I
pretty much just accepted the fact that I'm going in the sand really, really fast. And I everything that Bob Newberry had taught me, everything that I learned over the years, to just, line yourself up in the middle. And as soon as you cross from pavement into sand, let go of the steering wheel and, hold on like this, because if it flips, just there's so many things. And it's kind of funny how that your brain slows everything down, like that fight or flight mentality. And I remember lining myself up in the middle, and I'm still hauling ass. I'm going about 150 miles an hour. And I remember seeing one of the track guys where the turnoff is, going like this, like, oh yeah, just keep going straight. And I just remember going to myself for a quick second, like, yeah, no doubt. Like, of course I'm going to go straight.
I had no options here.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but I kind of was like, I had a quick second of like, duh. Anyway, I was hauling ass. I went over the sand. I didn't even touch it. Went through 2 of those nets, and then 4 rows of those giant plastic sand-filled barrels. And then finally it stopped.
Wow.
And from the motor plate forward, thank God, the chassis just curled up over the engine. But if I would have hit at any other angle, I may not be sitting here talking to you. So that was a godsend. Got out completely unscathed.
Uninjured.
Yeah. The G-forces, a couple hours later made me feel like I was 90 years old, like my whole body hurt. But I was fine. I had no injuries whatsoever. I got really lucky because the next race there, we didn't have a backup car. Alcohol cars don't usually have backup cars. So we had to rebuild from scratch. And the next year we went out and raced at Englishtown. I was 2 pairs back, right, in my class, an alcohol funny car. And car goes down there, goes to the end, and he doesn't make it. His name was Neil Parker.
Wow.
And yeah. And so they took us all off the track. Nobody was saying anything. And when no one says anything to you, it's bad. When they're not saying anything, giving no information. Went back to the pits, and the guys were like, NHRA came by and was like, hey, if you don't want to run, you don't have to run. Like, we get it. Don't worry about it. And I was like, no, like, if other guys are going, like, I'm going too. This is, you got to get back up on the horse at some point. And it's already been a year. Like, I gotta get in this thing, and I gotta get over it.
Well, here's what I like. Here's
what
I like what you said afterwards. I mean, talk about being undaunted and uninjured. Life happens. It's unpredictable no matter what you do. I'm not going to sit in my house and hide. I'm going to experience the world.
Yes.
That kind of sums you up, doesn't it, Alexis?
Definitely.
Yeah, it goes back to the krill and clam analogy. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's lots of things in life that could make me want to go in my room and never come out.
Well, the last few years, my
God. Yeah,
Right.
Exactly. Gosh, this form of motorsports is like getting served a giant piece of humble pie every weekend. You got to take the highs with the lows. And I mean, coming off of a final round appearance or coming off a win and all the excitement and going over 300 miles an hour, on the daily, and then coming home, it's like such a big like energy loss. You know what I mean? You just go through these like huge ups and downs of roller coaster rides of emotions. But luckily we get in a couple days, get back in the car and race Seattle. And we've done pretty good in Seattle. So I'm excited. We're coming off of a final round win. We're 3rd in points right now. We jumped up 2 spots from last weekend.
Right.
We've got the car to beat, and I've heard some pretty great statistics lately that our car, our Bandero GR Supra Toyota Funny car is consistently the quickest and fastest car in the last 2 years.
Before we get back to this interview, I want to say that this episode is brought to you by Connected by Reynolds & Reynolds. If you want to hear great conversations and Greg Hewlin going deep with guests on everything from used car acquisitions to finding your niche and selling to it, I recommend adding Connected to your podcast rotation. Now let's get back to my interview.
Try to explain to the listener the level of absolute violence and power that comes from behind the wheel of a funny car. Walk us through the process of when you start getting into the mental zone, what you're feeling, and what happens after a run. And like you just said, is the come down from that high immediate or is it gradual?
It's immediate in the sense where you're just exhausted. But then the next day it's kind of like, it's really just a drop in your vibe. I mean, the day after a race, I'm always just exhausted and I just want to sleep and no laundry, no nothing. I just park my suitcase and I'll get to that
300
later.
miles an hour and then no laundry afterwards.
Yeah, no laundry. No. But when you do go that fast on a consistent basis, you kind of lose your sense of speed.
Yeah, you're desensitized,
so I get,
right?
you get in your street car and,
how do you go home? How do you go home at 65 miles an hour?
Yeah, 60 miles an hour feels like you're crawling. But no, I've managed to not get any tickets in the last year, so that's good.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
because I can imagine that you would peel out of
better
out of the racetrack and go, well, I'm only going 150. I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah, I try not to. I mean, leaving the track, I feel a little deflated, and I sometimes. If I don't have to drive, I won't. And my boyfriend thinks that's just fine because he feels safer when he doesn't like it when I drive too much because I just drive fast, and even if we're not in a hurry, it's kind of like I just drive to get there. It's like, stop and smell the roses. We're not at the track anymore. Calm it down.
But take us right inside the car, and you're getting ready for the lights to turn and you're locked in. What's the mental state? Do you go through the same routine every time?
Every time. Consistency is important, and having the same routine every time. That way you don't forget anything. You don't miss any stops. It is a very much a mental sport. So I have the same routine with going down to which glove I put on first, which boot I've put on first, right boot first, left boot first. It's something I've always done. I get suited up. When I put that helmet on, it's game on. And I said at the last race, I made some comment like I get road rage. I turn into like just a monster. It's really intense.
Or like a dragon that's on that right
exactly
foot of yours, right? Tattooed on that right foot. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But you become one with the race car. You feel everything through that race car. Like I said, I'm sitting right on the rear end. So when that car goes out and shakes, trust me, I'm shaking just as bad. Like I'm in a paint shaker. When that car goes sideways, I'm going sideways, and it's just like I'm feeling it and driving it from the seat of my pants. And when these cars go out and spin the tires or shake and it's race day and you got to pedal that car, that's probably the most violent thing you could do, because it's like having a bunch of starts. You know what I mean? It's like leaving the starting line over and over again every time you come up off that throttle, even though you're probably going 300 or 200 miles an hour out there. When those tires lose traction, it's almost like you feel like you're stopping, and then you've got to let it calm down and make sure you're still pointed straight, and then you gun it again. So it's like a bucking bronco, and thank God we have chin straps. Probably snap my neck.
Wow.
But yeah, I had to do that one of the rounds to get to the finals, and I did a damn good job. I couldn't get off the starting line to save my ass, but up there, I had cans of oxygen to try to bring my oxygen levels up. In Denver, because it's so high up, and getting acclimated to that to a mile above sea level. Usually I go up and I'll hike Red Rocks I dragged my boyfriend up there this weekend. I said, "Come on, this is the last time. You got to come with me." But it was beautiful. Like I said, we're really going to miss that racetrack, and hopefully the Bandimeres do end up building another racetrack in Denver, because we love racing out there, but nothing will ever replace Bandimere Speedway up in Morrison.
Did you ever want to drive anything else?
Yeah, I do actually. I love off-road racing, like trophy trucks and those kind of cars, pro lights,
Baja or something.
Baja, or the closed, the smaller tracks. But I love the desert racing, all those kinds of cars, rally cars. I love that. So I don't know. I've been talking about going to the rally car school, just to try it out.
Le Mans, maybe endurance race.
Yeah, right. that's a lot of money. it's a little
Toyota's got a good team.
Yeah, they do, but that's not my wheelhouse. So I don't think I'll be getting a call anytime soon to be driving one.
I don't know. They might hear the program. Do you enjoy watching other kinds of racing?
Oh, I love it. I love all forms of motorsports. We have the COTA Circuit of America's racetrack here Formula in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out there. I love watching MotoGP, NASCAR, off-road. Yeah. I mean, I love all forms of motorsports. Love the competitive
nature of it, don't you?
I do. I love that. I love the speed. I love the mental aspect of it. And, these are elite athletes, they have to be in shape, and you use your brain. Like it's a lot. It's big time. When you're done with those, like, you're just completely spent mentally and physically.
What's your fitness regime? How do you stay in shape for what you do?
I work on eating really healthy, for the most part, especially when I'm at the racetrack. Lots of water, lots of proteins. And then when I'm home, I have a trainer that I train with, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, depending on how much time I have at home. We do a mixture of, weights and, cardio and all that kind of stuff. So, and then a lot of work with my arms and wrist work to strengthen my wrists. So got these little lady wrists, so I gotta work extra hard to get them strong enough to wheel that beast of a car.
Yeah, no kidding. When you think about all of the different types of drag cars that you've been in, what's your favorite?
Nitro funny car.
Okay. Yeah. Easy answer.
Nitro funny car. There's nothing that compares to that. I loved racing alcohol funny car because it was so exciting, and I think like a lot of people consider those to be the hardest cars to drive, next to a nitro funny car, and it is. It really did prepare me for what I do now. So the transition from alcohol funny car to nitro funny car was a lot easier than super comp dragster to an alcohol funny car. I had a couple years where it was like just really, it was tough. It was really tough. And then being like one of the only females, having the family name, there was a lot of expectations of, well, she's never done this before, she's going to fail, and people, all eyes are on you. So you've got that extra pressure to succeed, and you've got to quiet the noise. That's the best stuff I could give to anybody trying out, for the first time, is like, you just have to quiet the noise, because you're going to have haters when you do good or bad. And it's something that you just got to keep believing in yourself and persevere.
You've said that you love the fact that there are more women competing in NHRA drag racing than any other motorsport.
Yes. And there's still not that many. In the sportsman categories, there's a ton. The pro ranks, there's a handful, but yeah, we're more than any other motorsport for sure.
And there's a whole movement now, as you've seen, into NASCAR and
yes,
other forms of driving. We've had Samantha Tan on this program, who's trying to make her way up through the racing ranks as well. But it's like NHRA has been at the front of this whole revolution.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is that? Is it because of Shirley Muldowney?
I was about to say that. I believe it's because of people like Shirley Muldowney. She not only opened the door, she blasted the door open, won championships, wouldn't take no for an answer, and I think if there was someone like that, like her in NASCAR or F1, I mean, I know it's still very much a guy's game out there, but luckily we had someone like Shirley Muldowney that really made the way for us. A lot of strong female competitors. I'm friends with Erica Enders. I mean, she's absolutely incredible. She's won 5 championships. Angèle Sampé, Brittany Force. Nobody's done it in nitro funny car yet, though. So,
well,
my chances are pretty good because
there might be one person. Yeah, right. Who's the one competitor you really looked forward to beating, and why?
I'd say Ron Capps. Ron Capps is like, I love Ron Capps as a person. We're buddies, but man, that team, I mean, he's the reigning champ. Anytime we go up against that team, it's like, oh man, they are a thorn in our side. It is so hard for us to beat them. We could do it and we will do it. But he's definitely won more races than I have beaten him. So he's one of them. Matt Hagan, probably, but Ron Capps definitely is at the top of that list.
Wow. An inspiration for you beyond Shirley. Are there others who are just as inspiring?
Oh, definitely.
Who comes to mind?
God bless her heart. Bunny Burkett. She's no longer with us. She was the first female to win a top alcohol funny car event in a national top alcohol funny car event for females. And she was awesome. She was so supportive, like throughout my alcohol career and into nitro. And what a great lady. Wasn't bitter, wasn't jealous, had no jealousy. And she was just really, really supportive and so awesome. Del Worsham, he's another one of my, people that I look up to, and he's my mentor, my co-team owner, my crew chief, my buddy. But him and Jeff Arend really helped me in my early years of nitro funny car. I look up to them. John Force, he signed my license, my nitro license. So that's pretty cool. It's been a great ride, and I've been able to work with some incredible people. Yeah.
You just mentioned some incredible names. As parents, Alexis, we want what's best for our children, obviously. Does your daughter want to follow your solidly planted right foot into racing?
She kind of did when she was younger, but more so on the NASCAR level. She wanted to race sprint cars and then go from that to NASCAR. And I was supportive of it. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. If you're really serious about it, you got to learn the ropes. You got to do what your mom did in NHRA. And she understood that. But at the same time, she was also riding horses, and she's kind of like a horse whisperer, so to speak. And she was riding English. And then when we moved out here to Texas, she started riding Western. She was doing cutting. She wanted to do barrel racing. I mean, she has no fear when it comes to horses. Wow. So she kind of dove more into that and, lost her drive to race in anything else. But that was kind of it. And I never pushed her to be a race car driver just because I'm a race car driver. I would never do that. And that's not how my family, that's not what we do. We inspire, we want you to do what makes sense and what you believe in, and that's why I think my dad to this day is still like, you wanted to do this, you proved yourself, and you're doing it and you're successful at it. So I feel like I've made it in that sense, and I've made my father proud, and that's something that, for a girl, that's so important, to make your family proud and have that support from my mom and my dad.
You should have told your daughter that she had to go into hair care and tequila. That would have been fun.
Yeah, right. Well, she does. She has a great routine, great beauty routine, one that I don't have. But then again, I'm not here to be a beauty queen. I'm here to be a nitro funny car driver, and we get dirty.
If you weren't the nitro funny car driver, what would you have pursued, Alexis?
Oh, wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was about 5. Yeah,
I was going to say astronaut, but yeah.
That was, yeah. Well, actually, I wanted to. That's the one thing I did try to push her at. I was like, don't you want to be a fighter pilot? And then you could be, an astronaut. She's like, no, Mom, that's your dream, not mine. She's like, I have other aspirations. So yeah, there goes that.
Yeah. Or you could have been one of those Red Bull skydivers who takes motorcycles off of planes or something with parachutes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Maybe a Tom Cruise appearance in Mission Impossible.
Hey, I could be a stunt woman.
Yeah,
that could be good.
Final couple of things. Thanks to Wikipedia, we learn you have a fondness for water towers. You've helped to preserve the Eagles Court water tower.
Yes.
And that's an interesting bit of philanthropic work. How did that come about? And do you have and support other philanthropic endeavors?
I definitely do. I'm on the board of my family's charity organization, the Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation. And there isn't anything that we don't support as far as charities go, from homelessness to environmental to human trafficking, which is a huge deal right now. My dad just produced the Sound of Freedom, which is out in the movie theaters right now. It's #1 in the box office. It's based on a true story, or it's basically a true story. So that's really incredible. But we have a very wide range of things that we support. Another thing is the mobile loaves and fishes out here in Texas. It's a huge plot of land where we basically built like small houses. It's like a community of self-sufficient, has its own chicken coop, has its own gardening and metal workshop and all that kind of stuff. And it's very cheap housing for homeless people that that do have the ability, that want to change their lifestyle, that want to do something. So it helps get people off the street and back into society. And that's something that we're very, very proud of. And we hope to progress into other states and other cities with this.
What a wonderful.
And yeah, definitely. And another thing is the Sea Shepherd Water Conservation Society. Paul Watson, my dad donated, we donated from Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation, donated one of their ships to help conserve our beautiful, beautiful beasts of the water, the whales, the dolphins, and baby harp seals. I've been on some of those missions as well, but we're very much into environment and just helping society as a whole.
So is there a movement to go to an electric nitro dragster then?
No. That is a no. Believe it or not, nitromethane is a fairly clean burning fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, everybody's is crying and coughing after I do a warm up in the pit because it's so intense, but it does burn very clean. So there's that. But I don't see electric funny cars happening in the near future. No.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe we can proclaim that as the next movement to try to prevent.
Yes.
This is Cars and Culture. Sum up for me in 30 seconds or less the culture of what you do.
The culture, it is what we eat, breathe, and sleep. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, I'm thinking about that nitro funny car. It's a lifestyle. It's the most intense, most quickest accelerating sport in the world. There is nothing that compares to these cars, but you have to come out and see it in person. TV does not always do it justice. Once you come and see one of these races, you will be a fan and you will be hooked. Come on, let's go.
The soon-to-be first female champion, as predicted right here by me. Thank you so much for being on the program. What an enjoyable, fast trip with you.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Alexis.
Thanks again to my guest today, NHRA racer Alexis DeJoria. And to see my interview with Alexis, go to the Cars and Culture YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to see more than 115 interviews and nearly 1,000 videos. And thanks for listening. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on Instagram at Cars and Culture SXM and on Twitter at Cars Culture SXM. I'm Jason Stein. We'll see you down the road.